Recently, I released a video where I was responding to a video that was put out on Mr. Mandy Plays channel. The focus of that conversation was whether or not Starfield was going to be a good game. There were a lot of things said in that video, and the comments section was lit up with far more comments than I expected. One comment, though, inspired this video. I won't name the person, but the comment basically was saying that Fallout 4 was not a good game. So that prompted me to sit back and ask the question, was Fallout 4 a good game? Well, the short answer is yes, it was. However, just for argument's sake, let's analyze it. Now, normally I don't like to just rely on Steam numbers, but I will make an exception in this case because Fallout 4 was originally released on Steam for the PC, so those numbers actually do matter. It was also released in several other ways, like consoles and such. When we look at the current Steam numbers, Fallout 4 leads the way by a long shot in player count out of all the Fallout titles. Some of you might argue that it's because of mods. It's the last single-player Fallout, or even simply because it's using the Creation Engine instead of the old Oblivion engine, which is Creation Engine, just an older version of it. When you look at it even further, Fallout 4's player count is so high that every single other Fallout title combined still has a lower player count, and that includes the closest game, that being 76. This is not even taking into account the console players. When we look at those numbers, it only reinforces the previous statement. So that begs the question, why do so many players flock to Fallout 4 over the other titles? There are several reasons. 1, it has massive replayability. 2, the DLC content is fantastic. Far Harbor is arguably one of the best DLCs of all time in the Fallout universe. 3, the gunplay is better than any of the previous titles and is only bested by 76. I could go on, but you probably get the point. Now, while I was working on this video, I received another, shall we say, salty comment about Fallout 4. I will give that one credit though. It was very detailed, and I want to hit as many of the points that were brought up in that comment as possible. I found many of the points to be flawed. The first point said there was no way to individually heal limbs. This is just wrong. Healing limbs works the same way it did in previous titles, where you would use a Stimpak in the Pip-Boy menu by clicking on the damaged limb. Not hard to debunk this one. The second point was one that is kind of a valid argument. Finding Exo-1 power armor should have been more limited since it was literally just developed right before the bombs fell, so it should not have been so widely available. That, however, was more a limitation of the loot system than something that was intentional. Then the person brought up Jet being in pre-war containers. Jet is a drug that has a big misconception around it. The reason for that is the poor storytelling found in Fallout 2. In that game, we find out that a kid named Myron created Jet. However, there is more lore in the game that suggests he simply found the formula and claimed that he created it. The truth is, Jet was created before the war, and as such, there is no reason why we should not be able to find Jet in pre-war containers. The next point was about pipe weapons not being realistic. That one is just an opinion, so I won't waste time on it. From there, the comment went into the dialogue choices not matching the chosen option. I couldn't agree with that one. Bethesda tried to do something different, and it did not resonate with the community. I will grant that. I also think that it was done to simplify the options. Again, no argument for me here. The person then said one of the dumbest things I've seen by stating that the quests were not dynamic. That is as wrong as it could possibly be. The entire game is dynamic, including the quests. Many of them had multiple ways to complete it. Then, for some reason, this person thought that we should have had weapons that were in Fallout 3, Since Fallout 3 took place in Washington, D.C., there is no reason why we should see the iconic weapons from there in Boston. Yes, the Institute had made its way to D.C., and the Brotherhood made their way to the Commonwealth, but that did not mean the weapons would also do the same. The comment continued to devolve, and there was really only one other point I want to address, that being what I believe to be the crux of the discussion. Many believe that Fallout 4's main story was just a copy and paste of the Fallout 3 main story. While I concede that there are similarities between the two stories, they are very different, and that cannot be denied. Aside from looking for a family member and possibly taking over for said family member, the rest of the two stories are vastly different. In fact, in Fallout 4, you can really do whatever you want right from the start. There is nothing that forces you to start the main quest right away. Both Fallout 3 and New Vegas did not give you that option. To be fair though, New Vegas gives you the ability to do so sooner than Fallout 3 did. Some of the biggest criticism of Fallout 4 revolved around Preston Garvey and how annoying he is. Here's the thing, you don't have to complete those settlement quests. Just because it is there to do does not mean you have to do it. Those Radiant quests were simply put in to give you something to do when everything else has been done. Personally, I don't mind them because it was a nice change of pace and it allowed me to complete them whenever I wanted. I never felt pressured to do so though. One of the biggest complaints of the previous games was that you did not get the option to continue to play after completing the main story. So Bethesda said, okay, here you go. Now you can keep playing. Adding Radiant quests was just to give more substance to the game once you reach that point. This was a direct response to community feedback. The fact that you can play infinitely without restriction is one reason why this game continues to be played by so many people. Yes, mods also play a big role in that as well, but it is not the only factor. So, why do players flock to Fallout 4 over other titles? Mod support, replayability, the game continues after completion, better gunplay, and the list goes on. At the end of the day, Fallout 4 did make a few mistakes, and thanks to modders, those mistakes got fixed. However, the mistakes did not outweigh the things that made the game enjoyable to play. With all of that being said, Fallout 4 has many reasons for it being popular enough to be considered a good game. Why? Because there is something in the game for everyone. If you like base building, it's in there. If you like choice and consequence, it's in there. If you like big open worlds to explore, this game has got you covered. I could go on, but I think you get the point. So, is Fallout 4 a good game? Yes. Is it the best Fallout game? That is a matter of perspective, but it is well worth playing, and I never felt cheated out of money, nor should anyone else. Fallout 4 may have had its problems, but no one can honestly look at this game and say it is a bad game, because that is just not true. Rather than continue to beat this dead horse, I would like to hear from you. What are your thoughts about Fallout 4? Do you agree that it is a good game? Are you still in the camp of it being a bad game? Sound off in the comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Follow me on Twitter as well because it is where I announce every new video I produce, and, as always, I'm just glad you stopped by, and I'll see you in the next one.